Alrighty, y'all. Part 2 of the Natasha Trethewey lecture for American Literature, 1865 to present. Dr. Graham here again. I wanted to make sure we understand what happens when we take a collection of poetry like Native Guard, written in 2006 by Natasha Trethewey, and have it anthologized in a Norton. It loses a lot of context and structure that the original collection or book had to it. Case in point, this is a cycle of sonnets, Native Guard is. So you have, I don't have the exact number, 30 to 50 sonnets that Natasha has ordered to be a certain form, to have the whole structure of the sonnets laid out, that they are a superstructure that relates to the history and the culture they're talking about, right? And so when you have the Norton coming, I mean, bless them for doing it all, but they have 9 sonnets here, right? There's a lot lost in the development and the building up and the structure of the collection. They also have a lot of the middle parts, the big movements and the big, rising action and the thematic stuff elided from this because they have the beginning sonnets and the last few sonnets. Right? So we kind of have a time traveler's view of Native Guard, as you'll notice from the way the dates go from June 1863 to 64 to 65. So Natasha has multiple sonnets for every year, right, that kind of outlay the different developments with the treatment of conscripted black soldiers in the South, the service of black soldiers in the Union Army, the Confederates massacring regiments of black soldiers and abolitionists at different settlements in the South. So there's a lot of development that we have missing from this. But we'll talk about the last sonnet in the Norton in the collection called 1865. This one does not have a month on it, so you have to look at your Wikipedia and figure out why is this the only sonnet that just has a year and not a month. Alright. These are things which must be accounted for. Slaughter under the white flag of surrender, black massacre at Fort Pillow, our new name, the Cour d'Afrique, words that make the native from our claim, mossbacks and freedmen, exiles in their homeland, the diseased, the maimed, every lost limb and what remains, phantom, ache, memory haunting an empty sleeve, the hog eaten at Gettysburg, unmarked in their graves, all the dead letters unanswered, untold stories of those that time will render mute, beneath battlefields, green again, the dead molder, a scaffolding of bone we tread upon, forgetting, truth be told. So this is kind of a concluding force of the collection. It harkens back to the Douglas quote we began with, right? The epigraph. I ask in the name of all things sacred, what shall men remember, right? And so it's talking about the accounting for the loss of life, the memorialization that occurs through the progress and through the destruction of war, but also the stories that are lost, the dead letters, the families that are severed, the soldiers who are maimed, the parts of the culture, generations of individuals who never got to come to their full intellectual and cultural fruition, cut down in their prime, right? As well as it speaks to the, if y'all remember the movie Forrest Gump, a Colonel Nathan Bedford Forrest in 1865 ordered the black troops be, quote, shot down like dogs from the Fort Pillow Massacre, which this references directly in line 4 of the poem. And so that's the Forrest Gump thing, right? Forrest Gump's named for this massacring, bloodthirsty, racist Confederate general. And so that's well, apparently he was a descendant of them in the movie, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, it was a seminal moment at the end of the war when the surrender was all but guaranteed. It had been unconditionally surrendered by Lee already, right? And Bedford Forrest held out at this place called Massachusetts Island. So I'm looking at my footnotes here. At Fort Pillow, which was on Massachusetts Island, which they called it in Louisiana. And he massacred all the black folks there because they were about to be captured and freed, captured by the North and then freed, and he would not stand for that. And so this is an important thing to remember, is even in the final resolving moments of a conflict, the ability for human beings to make a legacy of evil and to inflict further damage into the culture, the history, and the morality of a country, of a state, of a military, right, is still always present. And we have to think about all the bodies in the ground, either in Gettysburg or in Louisiana, right? Were they there necessarily, or were they there simply out of caprice and the purporting or supporting of an unjust cause by people who couldn't see the world in a better way, right? And that's the contrast she's trying to draw here. Like, what shall be remembered, says Douglas. And she says, remember that this evil lurks out there, that this evil lurks even in the face of unconditional surrender, just to harm other peoples, to be evil, right? And so remember the heroism, and also that there's a part of us as human beings that's not amenable to resolution and peace and moving forward, and that's just to be combated constantly. And war teaches us this, and the stories of war do so as well. And that's what Natasha's grappling with here. I hope you enjoy her work and read more of her poems.